come in yet? Probably not, right?
No, not
Damn,
yet.
what's going on? It's slow shipping to Arizona. we ordered it last week, right?
Yes, we
Okay,
did.
cool.
Yeah, it
Yeah, I
should be any
remember.
day. I imagine it'd be any day.
Yeah, I was gonna say I remember being on the call doing it because I didn't want to forget. Okay, that's awesome. Good morning. We are live, and we're excited today to be talking about questions. And I have a lot of questions about this question, but I'm joined by Coach Andrew, the one, the only. Oh, wrong side. Andrew, how you feeling today? Are you
Feeling
ready?
good.
Are you ready to
Yeah.
drop some knowledge bombs? Hopefully.
I'm so geared up for this. This is like one of my favorite topics is talking about questions for sure.
Okay. So why do questions? First of all right. So I'm a beginner. I'm just starting out. Maybe I've done this before, lost some weight, haven't been able to sustain it. Why do questions matter to me? Why should I care
So
about them?
well, it's part of our self-talk, right?
Okay.
So many people, we have sometimes if we're starting something new, especially, we ask ourselves disempowering questions that keep us stuck, keep us where we are, such as, am I good enough for this? Do I really have the time for this? Is this really that important to me? Like asking those questions, our mind answers them like, no, you're not, or no, you don't have the time. And so we kind of create this false truth by asking
Mm,
ourselves disempowering questions that don't help motivate us or help guide us to like do the next thing or to find out what we should be doing. And so I like the idea of like what empowering questions could you ask yourself to really like get going or to be consistent or to find the motivation. So such as like, how will I get my workout today when I know my day is gonna be crazy? How will I get it in? And I'm sure if I were to ask anyone listening to this, you're probably thinking like, oh, I would do it at this time, or I would do it at this location, or I would do it after this, or I would have to move this around to make sure I get it in. Like your mind figures out options, it finds answers. We're all wired that way.
yeah.
And so
Yeah. We're all problem
that's
solvers.
so that's the beauty of having empowering questions to direct our mind. Our mind figures it out. All we got to do then is act. So we find the
Got it.
answer, we create the options, and then do any of them, do all of them if you could, and
Right.
so then we start asking ourselves more questions like, oh, that was great, I feel so good from that workout, how will I do it again, what will I need to do to make it happen tomorrow? And then it just keeps that momentum going just by asking the right questions.
That makes sense. So pre-framing from a high level, this is about mindset. This is about how you can really stay motivated. And by staying motivated, you will do the actions that you know we need to do. And therefore
Mm-hmm.
we'll get faster results. We won't be yo-yoing as much because we won't have to get back
Right.
on the wagon because we'll never fall off. So
Right.
let's go through some scenarios. Uh, and maybe I'll give you a scenario of, you know, what could be pretty common. And then we'll look at a negative frame question and a positive frame question. And
Yeah.
we'll just, kind
Love
of go
it.
through that exercise really quick. So let's say we'll go with the one that you talked about. So, man, running late. I usually get in an hour workout. I only have time for a 20-minute workout right now at my normal scheduled time. I got to make dinner for my kids. I've had a stressful day. What's maybe a negative frame question that I might ask myself there, which I don't want to ask, but might happen naturally?
Well, do I really want to stress myself out more to do this?
That's
And do I
great.
really
Yeah,
want to,
right. I wouldn't
right?
want to.
Like do I really want to take this on right now? Like I'm and it's just, and then we keep going, right? It's like
Right.
I'm exhausted. I don't think I have the energy. I don't really feel like I want to do this right now. Do I
Yeah.
really want to make that time?
That's interesting. I almost look at this as a fork in the road, right? Where it's like you're
That's
standing at the
exactly
same place and it's like,
exactly what
okay,
it
the
is.
negative frame brings you down this road, which we don't want to be on. And the positive frame brings us on this other road where at the, one day after that, difference between positive and negative, we're in about the same place. But you multiply that by days and months and years, we're in two completely different places, kind of like the
Mm-hmm.
plane leaving from Boston, trying to go to California, trying to go to LA. If it's
Yeah.
going on course, I'll get to LA. If it's 1 degree off its starting position and never course corrects, I'll end up in Hawaii. 1 degree difference. That's just a difference between being here and here.
Mm-hmm.
These nuances matter. So of course, we could go through a ton of negative frames, but we know them, right? Like you said, do I really
Well,
want to stress myself out? I don't really have the time. Why? Why has this
yeah.
always happened to me? Why? And it's easy to get into that kind of self-sabotage.
And it's when those challenges come up, right? It's never when things are easy.
No.
Do those questions start to arise? It's always when we feel the pressure, we feel stress.
Yes.
And we ask that disempowering question, just like you said. It's like, if I'm going from Boston to LA and I see bad storms, well, do I really want to go through that bad storm to make better time? Do I really want to do that?
Right.
Do I want to be more uncomfortable potentially? Do I want to experience more stress? Like, we ask ourselves those questions, and then it's like, no, I don't want more of the
therefore
stress.
I will not do it. Right.
I won't do it. And that's the action, right? So that's where the actions start to come up, and we start to get more stuck, and then more time passes, and it doesn't lead us anywhere because of that fork in the road.
So let's go with that positive frame. Gloria, good morning. Good to see you. What would be a positive frame? So we'll just focus on positive frames from here. All right. So don't have a lot of time going, you normally have an hour, you only have 20 minutes to do this workout. What's an empowering question to ask at that time?
So what will I do today to get in the best workout I can in whatever time I can find? So what will I do? What will I do today to really feel like I'm still being consistent? Another one, when will I do it? Okay, it's 5 p.m. I try to get to bed by 10. When between now and 10 p.m. will I get something in? Maybe I'm going to do some planks. Maybe I'll do some stuff on the floor and some bird dogs and crunches and just something to satisfy my consistency. How will I do it?
I think. Oh, sorry.
How
will I do it? It's so funny. Yeah, you're pretty much hitting like all of the like who, what, where, why, when. I love this.
That's it. But it's not why. Like, right. I'm not asking myself, why do I need? I already know why I need to do it.
Yeah.
Like that's already, we've satisfied that. We know that. That's why we're asking these other questions. So that's my suggestion, is not to ask, why do I really need to do this? That's not empowering, right?
Right.
But so if we take out the why, it's who, what, when, where, how.
Yes.
Will, and not can. And I'm being very specific with this. How can I do it? That's still way too open-ended. How can I do it? It can still lead us the wrong way.
If I'm hearing you correctly, we want to ask questions that the answer will lead us to do the thing. So that's the frame. So it's, okay, will me doing this workout help me more than not doing the workout? And 9 times out of 10, the answer is yes.
Mm-hmm.
Will a 20-minute workout help me more than a 0-minute workout?
Right.
Yes. And that answer will be there.
And that's the truth. Absolutely. Right. And that's the truth. And that's something else to maybe acknowledge, is there's a difference of a really good assessment question versus a directional question.
Yes.
So it, just like you said, like, I know I need to do this. If I'm asking myself questions to assess where I'm at, that's great. But if we're really desiring to be consistent, if we're really desiring change, I need to direct myself to do that. I need a question to direct me to do what that change is. So that's why I'm being very specific with how I'm saying this, like how, what, when, where, what, and when, and who potentially, and will. Who will I ask to join me? When will I take this on? Those are directional. If I were to put anything like, when am I going to do it, or when can I do it, it's too open-ended. It's too much of an assessment, which it's not going to be enough for most of us to direct us towards an option, a positive option that creates a positive outcome, a positive mood, a positive behavior. We need that direction. We need that directional kind of vibe to it, or else it's not enough. We might just keep in our heads of convincing ourselves that we don't need to do it right now if it's not enough. So that's why the will I do this?
I like that. So I'm going to shift gears a tiny bit and go into, or not shift gears, but going into scenario 2. So I'm sitting on my couch, I'm watching TV after a stressful day, and I'm already eating, and I've already eaten my last meal. I kind of got the pretext wrong, but I want to snack, right? I feel pulled to get up and go snack.
Mhm.
What question should I ask myself?
What will I eat to honor my healthy meal plan?
Okay.
So, what will I have to do to honor that plan?
Mm.
Or I'm just kind of spitballing ideas now. So,
Yeah, I'll
like,
give you one too. It's you know, what am I feeling in this moment? Right? Like, what am I feeling? Am I
so,
actually hungry?
so that's what I
Am
would
I
say is
bored?
we need more than that, because like in the situation, I want to snack. That's where I'm at, right? Like I want a snack. So we need to get out of that, not keep asking stuff like what am I doing, or how am I doing it? Like that could be a rabbit hole, right? We can just
Yes.
all of a sudden give up and be like, I just need to, you know, have a snack because I'm done.
Yeah.
So we need something simple enough and effective enough to again direct us. So what will I do now to honor my healthy plan? Or what will I need to do to feel like I'm being consistent? Well, I shouldn't have that, those chips. I should have, the cucumbers I cut up earlier or something like that. It's like it gives you like a real answer, a real option.
Yeah, like, what is something I could eat that would allow me, like you said, to still
Mhm.
feel like I'm on my journey, that I wouldn't feel any guilt from, right? Because
Yep.
guilt's right, a big thing, food guilt.
Yeah.
I feel no guilt from that would still allow me to satisfy the, we'll say, craving I have. And that craving,
Hmm.
again, may not be from hunger. It may just be from boredom. And
Yeah.
again, does that mean we should ignore it if it's from boredom? Not necessarily. Should we feed it forever, or maybe should we dive into that at some future point? Potentially. But
Hmm.
that thing that you could have might be a berry medley with a sugar-free or calorie-free whipped cream. It is probably one of my favorite. Oh man, when I'm cutting and on a fat loss phase, my clients
Hmm.
love it too. If they like berries, strawberries, blueberries, blackberries,
Oh
whatever it
yeah.
is, super low calorie. You can get 2 cups,
Hmm.
like 2 cups of fruits, a bunch in a bowl. That's like maybe 250 calories, maybe 100, 200 calories, depends on how generous you are with those cups. And you just pile on the calorie-free whipped cream. Now, again, it's all, as far as we get into like, oh, what ingredients are in that calorie-free whipped cream? Again, it's, you know, in my opinion, the pro outweighs the con of getting in those extra, maybe less
Hmm.
desirable ingredients to be able to stay in a caloric deficit and stay guilt-free on your journey. That's the decision I would make at that time. But
Sure. Well, would you agree that you already have a plan, right? You already have planned that out. You have those foods available. So
yes,
if that's, I think another piece of this is if we're asking ourselves
yeah,
directional or empowering questions, there needs to be some type of preparation or something ahead
yes,
of time. So that way it's not like, again, a disempowering option because I don't have it, or
yeah.
it's midnight and I can't do anything. It's like we have to get in front of it to a degree so we can ask ourselves these questions and have real options that we can actually follow through with.
Definitely. And if you don't do that ahead of time, again, if you don't do it ahead of time and you have this thing happen, well,
Mhm.
tomorrow, like it's never too late to plan, because tomorrow or the next day or the day after that, it probably will happen. So it's okay to
Mhm.
have a quote bad day and to fall off and to make a bad choice. But that bad choice doesn't have to mean, well, there goes my week or there goes my month or there goes my year.
Mhm.
It could just mean like, I made this choice. It's okay. What can I do right now to plan for a better future?
Yep.
Assuming you don't have a coach. If you do have a coach, you just tell them and they usually guide you through it and,
Sure.
save
Yep.
you a lot of time.
That's right.
I'm curious too, anyone listening, either on live or on recording, what would be a scenario you'd be curious of? Like, okay, what's something that you have happen often? You're driving the car, maybe you feel stressed or it's late at night, you want a snack. What is a scenario that you'd be interested to know empowering questions for? I would love to know. All right. Do you have a scenario that comes to mind, or you want me to whip up another one for you?
For like, do I have one?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I usually have the one of like, well, I'm so sore. I don't like, what can I do? And then it's like, well, I'm so sore. I should just take it. I should take it easy. I should just rest. And yes, like that's great that we're honoring like how you're feeling, but what would we do to keep feeling like we are being active, there's always something, right? Well, I could go for a walk. I know that's not going to be too much, or I could stretch, or, maybe I should just kind of take it easy. But if I'm really sore, maybe I should ice my knees or something like that. So, like, what will I do to take care of myself right now? Because
Yes.
sometimes it's like, oh, I'm sore and I'm just going to wallow in my soreness, or I'm just going to take that and just kind of tell myself I don't need to do anything. Like,
Yes.
no, let's still encourage your body to adapt. Let's find something, and maybe it isn't what we planned for, but maybe it's something that still honors, the agenda that we set for ourselves, or still honors like what we've agreed on, like needs to happen, to helping again encourage our body to adapt. So what will I do to encourage my body to keep adapting?
Yes.
And what does that look like? Another one is, we had a bad day. I didn't do my workouts. I didn't eat right. I didn't do anything right. Okay. What will you do tomorrow that would feel better? What will you do tomorrow that would feel like you did the right thing? And what's one thing, not everything. If today just went off the rails and we just lost like traction on anything and everything, what's one thing I will do tomorrow to get back on track? And usually that helps kind of get back things where they need to be at, where that one thing ripples out to the other things that we need to dial in. But that's, I think, a common one is, I had an awful day. I had to do a split or a second shift, or I had to pick up my kid from school because they were sick, and I just threw everything off. Like, something will happen. Something will happen to throw us off track.
Yes.
And so what will you do to get back on track?
Yes.
Not what Great can question. You do, what will you do? And everyone has a different answer for that, which
of course works. And that's fine. And what I'm seeing is, and just to restate for anyone joining recently, is the trend here is changing the direction, right? Because we're at a fork in the road. We have empowering questions that will bring us closer to where we want to be, or we can have disempowering questions that bring us away, right? Disempowering question that maybe we ask sometimes, if we're in the scenario, I'm so sore from my workout and I still plan to work out today. Do I really want to work out this sore? Not a great question, because the answer is going to be no. But to your point, something more empowering of, well, what could I do that would still allow me to move in the direction of my goals? I don't have to do the same workout. I don't have to do what I had planned. There's plenty of days that I have a planned workout, my shoulder hurts, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I've been lifting for 15 years. I work it out. It's great, but I had a really big workout 2 days ago. It hasn't recovered yet. Cool. What can I do? I have a non-negotiable. My non-negotiable is, if I ever plan to work out, I'm getting physical. Now, I don't have to be getting physical in the way I planned. My wife's not busy. Maybe I get physical in a different way. Who knows? But the point is, I always have to get physical. Maybe it's some stretching. I don't know if anyone caught that. Anyway, you did. I did. What would be maybe another scenario that comes to mind?
Yeah, let's think about this. So I think another thing that comes up is, like, things change, right? So like, we get something new that's important to us in our life, whether it's a promotion, or we have another kid, or we are doing a project around our house. Like, there's always something else that comes up. And then sometimes what happens is, like, well, do I really need to do more with my workouts? Because my time, like, we don't have more time when we get more responsibilities. We don't have more time when more is given to us that matters to us. So we start asking these disempowering questions of, like, what do I really need to do? Or do I really need to do that? Or, I don't really feel like it today because I'm so, whatever. So asking ourselves, what will I do to take care of all of it? Like, what does that look like? And usually it's like, I need to schedule these things out. So what will I do to honor my time with those things that matter to me? So blocking time out, scheduling appropriate amounts of time, journaling, reflecting on, like, the schedule, like what's working, what's not. Like, those are actionable things that can come from that question. Like, what will I do to take care of it all? And it might mean, what will I do? What will I do to honor the tough choices I'm gonna have to make? And then it could be thinking, like, what really does matter to me? What can I say no to? Or what will I say no to say yes to all those things that really are important to me? That's another question I like is, what will I say no to take care of those things that really matter?
And I feel like that's such a good frame, like a great way to look at it for kind of life. How can I say that? Ongoing. that way to develop a system for ongoing life. What about if it was a scenario where it was, hey, just things got thrown at me today, where it's like, I'm at work and they're like, oh, hey, boom, big pile of whatever you got, hey, you can't leave right now because the next nurse hasn't clocked in yet. We can't leave these patients to just be like doing, no care. So you need to stay until they come in. They come in 90 minutes late. What happens when I'll say, I don't know, let's say the car gets a flat tire and there goes 60 minutes of the day. What happens when we get thrown these things, almost like these challenges? Like let's use the tire one. So you're heading home, tire, right? You plan to work out when you get home. You got your gym clothes already out, and you don't get home until you're 90 minutes past when you normally do. What's an empowering question?
Well, again, what will I do to make the best part of today? Or what will I do to make the most of today?
Yes.
It may just be, I'm going to have my last glass of water, or I'm going to do a meditation for 5 minutes. It may not be the ideal solution, but it needs to be something that we feel is congruent to our goals, to what is going to fulfill us. It's not an out, right? Like, it's not a question where it's like, oh, I did my best and I'm done. Like, that's not enough. We need to find some action that we can do to honor what we were planning to do. So if I'm 90 minutes late and I can't get the workout in, okay, that's real, right? We can't change that. We can't go back in time. We can't get in the DeLorean and rewind and start over. We have to find another option. So hopefully we have other options. Well, I could plan my food out for tomorrow because I need to do that. Or I need to make sure I have my water jug cleaned and ready to go tomorrow. So that way I have that ready. Like, there's got to be something else that we can find that feels like we're honoring what we need to do. So what will I do to honor my goals? I'm not able to work out. That's the truth. So what will I do instead? Well, I'll do 20 minutes of jumping jacks, or I'll grab my kid and the dog and I'll go for a walk around the block. Something. There's got to be something. So what will I do to honor that? And then giving yourself grace. I think that's something else that maybe we should touch on, is sometimes the answers aren't awesome, right? Like, what will I do? And it's like, well, I'll get my food ready for tomorrow. That's an answer. It's a good answer, but maybe it's not the best one. Well, that's it. That's the best answer. You chose it. You got it. Like, it's giving yourself grace that sometimes those things do come up, but they don't come up every day. Like, that's my coaching optimism, is most days are days that will go to your plan. And that's why it's helpful to really stay on track as best you can. So when those monkey wrenches come at you, what will I do to keep the consistency? What will I do to stay congruent? I think is important to acknowledge.
So there's a lot of these scenarios that I think one question is begged to be asked, and it goes right in the same line with mindset. How do we remove guilt from not being able to do all we planned? One of the trends I've seen with a lot of my clients over the years is, even if they can ask that empowering question of what can I do, and they do it, they still feel a bit of guilt, which weighs on them and brings them down kind of a self-destructive path, because that guilt then, we need to cope from that guilt, and we cope with food, and then it's feel more guilt, and, it's a downward spiral. So how can I reduce or remove guilt from not being able to do all we planned?
Well, I think one exercise I like is look at everything you have done to the plan.
So shifting perspective. Yeah, I love that.
Like, keeping track of everything in our heads, right? Like, we typically see the biggest things, and usually those biggest things aren't positive. They're the negative ones. It's like, I missed 3 workouts, or I'm so sore I didn't want to do my workout, or I didn't get the right foods. Like, we focus on those things, and they build and they build and they build, right? So this is why I think it's important to keep a schedule and potentially a journal. And one thing I like about our app, like, you can just message, your coach and be like, here's what I did today, to acknowledge what you are doing. And then we can really weigh not being able to do all that we planned versus what you have planned and what you are doing. Because it's not just in your head, it's in your actions. You're doing something. And so we need to record, we need to memorialize what we are doing, especially to our plan. And typically that's my first kind of go to is like, okay, how are you acknowledging your wins? How are you acknowledging what's
Yeah,
working?
celebrating your victories.
How
Yeah.
are you celebrating it? And usually it's like, well, I'm not. Okay, well,
Yeah.
let's practice that. Let's practice
As
that.
corny as it sounds, it sounds corny as heck. Because I promise you, I've gotten on calls with clients of mine. They're like, "Why are we spending time doing this? This isn't moving the ball forward." Because what they're looking at is actions lead results. I just need to do the actions. But what we forget very often is that it is your thinking that leads to you taking the actions in the first place. And
Yep.
that's what we're talking about on this call. It's all thinking. Questions, there's thinking. It's your brain. So if we can just change our thinking, the actions will change. And the idea is permanently. Because it's not,
we're consciously doing it, right? We're consciously working on that type of thinking. It's not just all of a sudden we start thinking that way.
No, of course. It's like building a muscle.
Practice.
It's building a muscle.
Practice. You got it.
And if we haven't built the muscle of asking good questions, as corny as it sounds, we're not going to be in the habit of it. And it takes time. Like I remember when I was a teenager, like I did not ask the right questions, and it made sense why I felt and was doing the things I was doing. But as I got older and I started, I got better influences, and and my thinking started to change. And that's why we make these videos. It's to give you the input to challenge your thinking so you can start to think differently. And it's repetition, right? Because there's a lot of input you're getting that isn't positive and maybe isn't empowering like this is. We would all want to have Coach Andrew attached to our hip, whispering in our ear every day, hey, it's okay. But what went great today? Being able to be on track, and on the wagon forever stems really from this, I'll say, habit of being able to reframe your thinking, because the truth is we all have shit that happens to us.
Yep.
The person who is in the best shape of their life and consistent for years, and the person who has struggled and yo-yoed and fallen off the wagon 6 times already this year has about the same amount of stresses or negative things that happen. Now, there is something to be said about designing your life in a way that, okay, you can remove a lot of those, but generally people have the same amount of stresses, especially, everyone here generally has the same job, right? In healthcare as a registered nurse or some other healthcare position. There's a lot of stress in that field. But with those stressors, one person stays where they are and is on a hamster wheel, and the other person is able to break through. And a lot of that, again, comes from our thinking. And the thinking only changes when we change our input. But I promise you, you change your input, you change your thinking, your actions will change, and so will your results in the long term. And that happens when your identity changes. But none of that happens without input. So that's why we get on here for 20 minutes almost every day, 30 minutes, and we say a lot of the same things so we can beat it in. Because I tell you what, attitudes are not taught. We're not telling you anything you don't already know, but they're caught. We're hoping that you hear it enough, it becomes absorbed through your skin like osmosis to the point where it is who you are, right? Your thinking starts to change. And that's why the best investment I ever made, I drained my bank account when I was 15 years old. I only had $30 in my bank account. And I bought a Zig Ziglar audio CD. It was the only one I could afford. It was one CD. It was like a 3-hour lecture or whatever you want to call it. And it changed my life. Because it allowed me to start believing that I had the potential to do things that I saw other people doing. It was called Born to Win. It's free. It's free now. You just go online, type in Born to Win, and it's everywhere. But that set me on a path to design my life, because I believed that, hey, in the past, I used to look at other people that had what I wanted, and I would say, oh man, good. Aren't they lucky? Not a great question. Why do they have it and I don't? That's not an empowering question, because then that leads to, well, because you're an idiot, because you don't deserve it. Not good questions, right? Where this allowed me to start framing, well, how could I do it? Well, I probably need to develop a skill. What skills do they have that I don't? Well, they don't. Good question. Well, I don't have this skill. I don't have public speaking skills. Maybe I should start figuring that out. Well, maybe I should.
Right.
And it puts you on the right path. Right questions change your life because they change your direction.
Yep.
And again, we're not telling you something you don't already know. We're not here to teach you something. You guys, you ladies, the majority here are women, are smart, capable. You've excelled in your career. You're excelling in a lot of other areas of life. And now it's all about just locking down this physical body. And I promise you that as the input comes in, your thinking changes, your actions will change, and therefore so will your results. Hopefully this is beneficial, guys. If this resonates at all, let me know in the comments, and we'll do more like this. Any questions, ask them in the comments before we wrap up. Also on the recording, Coach Andrew and I will come back and answer them. Coach Andrew, any final words as we wrap up here?
Well, just as a challenge for everyone that's watching this is
I love it.
I would suggest 3 questions that you could ask yourself to empower you for your day, for your lifestyle, your health, whatever it might be. But create those questions like now, so you don't have to think of them on the fly. Like, what 3 questions could you ask yourself to empower you, to direct you forward towards a positive behavior, a positive attitude or mood, a positive outcome, direct you forward? And just to recap, it's not why and it's not am I. It's who will I, when will I, what will I, how will I, where will I, to direct you forward. But create those now. Put them in your notes, put them on your phone, put them someplace where you can refer to them.
Say notes. Yeah.
So every day is different, right? Some days we have to do 2 shifts. Some days we don't. Some days we're with our family. Some days we're with a challenging coworker. What questions will help you the most bring the positivity somehow, some way that you need? 3 questions.
That's so good too. And I love having them on my notepad specifically because when we have a bad thing happen and we are not in an empowered state, we're in a disempowered state, you are not going to create these questions. It's so easy to just go do the negative thing. But if you have something, and it doesn't mean you always look at them when you get into a disempowered state, but even if 50% of the time you did, and then 50% of the time it led to a better decision, well, you're 25% better. And that's a crazy margin.
And that's something too, is these questions aren't just to bail you out, right? So So for instance, like when I'm working, like I'm in my home office, when I go to pick up my kids, how will I be the best dad for my kids when I pick them up today? I literally ask myself that every day, whether it's a bad day, great day, eclipse, no eclipse, whatever, right? But then I can feel my mind be like, oh, I need to check myself. Or, I'm going to take them to the park or something, but something positive usually comes from that question. I'm not waiting to feel like crap. I'm not waiting to feel like I'm having a bad day. I'm bringing that question every day to, again, create the momentum, to create the feeling that I want every day. So that's another inside baseball, behind the scenes tip, is don't save these questions when you're stressed out and, compromised and feeling low. Use these questions every day to direct your mindset the way you want it to be every day.
Well said, man. I feel like I don't want to say you've laid out an instruction manual, but there's some great actions here. And I hope that if somebody does come across this and they are listening, and they haven't gotten what they want yet, that they apply it. And I know it's easy because I was, 16 years old, and I remember hearing this stuff for the first time, and I'm like, that's stupid. Like that's mumbo jumbo. That's like you're talking metaphysical BS. It's not real. It's not tangible.
Like, come
it doesn't
on,
exist.
Come on.
Just give me the actions. Tell me what to do.
Give me the goal. Give me the good stuff. Yeah.
Right. What's the best exercise to burn fat? Where really this is a hidden game. This is there's invisible forces at play. And I'm not here to say I'm not here to sell your religion, but what I'm here to say is that the invisible forces at play are the mental. It's the invisible forces that control us. If we can control the invisible forces by asking the right questions, that's a great start. You will be well on your path and have less hiccups along the way, therefore get faster results with the title. It's been a pleasure. See you guys soon.
To be continued.
We'll drop a link somewhere if you're interested in working with Coach Andrew or any of our coaches to have your very own RN Body Breakthrough. You can meet with one of our coaches for a one-on-one RN Body Transformation Planning session. We'll see you guys later. Bye.